got autistic and dyslexia. Once that child was classed as dyslexic, she's now a teacher. But because we don't know the system, as people of colour, it's not that we're not bright, but you know, as women and men, we're trying to make ends meet. We're out there and we're trying to earn. But what we're not doing is learning the system that has been set up against us. So what happens is our children get labelled incorrectly and they end up becoming a statistic. So some of this has got to be that we've got to understand what is it that is out there for us. Because if your child gets labelled as autistic, you may not like the label, but do you know how much help and support that child will get? My child got a computer, she got exemptions in exams where she could speak rather than have to write because she struggled to write at the level. She got all the equipment given to her. She got help. How many people actually know what is out there for our children to get if they are struggling? So it's okay us saying there are issues with our children being suspended, but if you know that proportionately the Bangladeshi children are being taken out of school more than ours, but our black boys are disproportionately disadvantaged. I go into schools as a cabinet member, and some of the classes I go into, I couldn't manage those children. You've got teachers, in my opinion, that are too young. They don't understand our grouping. They go into school dressed inappropriately with hormone charged young. Lessons go out the window. You've got to go into these schools to see what's going on. So all the schools do, and I know this is labeling, but it's happening throughout Birmingham. They are short of staff, they want to get their stats, they want to get their exam rates up, and children are being thrown out. It happened to my son, so I'm not talking from anybody else. Just before his exams, they threw him out of school because they saw him as a troublemaker. He managed to scrape through his GCSEs, but would not go back into education again because it alienated him. How many of you have got the same story? So at the end of the day, I hear what you're saying, but Birmingham City Council, because enough of us, we're saying there's an issue. How are we impacting the issue that's there? There is something called the Community Safety Partnership. A large number of our children are ending up in the judicial system. They're ending up in the judicial system because unfortunately, the autism, a large number of our people have got problems with mental illness and anxiety. It's not being picked up on time. And then what happens? I've been the mental health champion since 2012. Because those of you that know me know that in 2012, a cousin of mine who I love dearly committed suicide. We go to funerals in the black community to celebrate life. How do you celebrate something when someone has taken their own life? We have got black men out there that are disproportionately being left on the scrap heap. They're in and out of prison. They don't understand the system. Family don't understand. So because of the pressure, they're disowning them. They have the illness, but they don't go to doctors. They don't speak about it. The stigma in communities, families. I know that there's lots going on out there within councils, within local communities about stopping this stigma. But please understand, it is still a stigma to tell somebody I am mentally ill. It is still a stigma, and a lot of young men out there and women cannot talk about it. Those of you that know me know that I sit on mental health panels and I see them coming through the door religiously because we're not doing enough joined up work out there between the community, the police, the third sector, between the council, and that has to change. I know that we have done a lot of work to ensure that going forward, we do not have a single person that is locked up who is mentally ill. but it's still not enough, because even on one of the roads I'm a counsellor of, a man committed suicide 3 weeks ago. He hung himself. Now that gentleman was crying out for help, crying out for help, but the help clearly was not there for him. So we need to look at how we're working together within the services. I'm now going to go on, because I was going to give you figures, but I don't think that's appropriate for this kind of meeting. I'm now going to go on and talk about, I'm going to talk about, what did you ask me to? I've gone totally off track. Black people Brexit. You didn't tell me. All right. No. Let me finish, right? Let me talk about social
the black voluntary sector and those who get funding and those who don't make those decisions.
Okay. The black voluntary sector, I don't know what that sector is at the moment, because for me, as a cabinet member, the black voluntary sector has been decimated. So for me, the black voluntary sector is few and far between. So let me talk about the voluntary sector, because right now, many of the people that I know that have worked really hard in the black voluntary sector, the funding disappeared. So they disappeared. So they were here today, they were gone tomorrow. And that happened years ago because of a large number of cuts. What Jeremy Corbyn should be doing is talking to councils about how can we ring fence and sustain things. Because at the moment, because of austerity, what the council is doing, it's not ring fencing things, it is just cutting, to ensure that it can meet the savings that are needed. What we've done as a cabinet going forward, we've tried to join up the dots. We're trying to look at new ways forward where we can improve the quality of the care that is given to individuals. But you then asked me to talk about the equal ops and equal opportunity. Now we have an equal opportunity agenda within the council. We also have equal opportunity paperwork that you have to fill in. I'm going to be blunt, it's a waste of time. Can
I get in there? I'm sorry to cut you.
I'm coming. Let me finish the equal ops first, right? The equal ops stuff within the council. Me and Sharon, we've spoken long and hard about it, because you have this document that says we have equal opportunities. No, there isn't. The reason we haven't got equal opportunities, with the amount of people that are leaving the council, predominantly, it's Black and Asian that are losing their jobs disproportionately. The council has got quite an elderly workforce. The city is quite a young city. How are we attracting young people into the council? My kids, I'd say, are very bright. They don't want to work in Birmingham because they don't see Birmingham as somewhere that they want to work. I've had to bring a couple of them back physically from where they did their degrees. And you are Sharon, literally, to bring them back to Birmingham, because they don't see Birmingham as a place they can grow. Birmingham City Council, on 2 levels, we've got to change, and we are working towards this. With mental health, we've got to change, because what we have to do is, we have to be seen to be doing. How are we as a local authority, and I'm saying how are we, actually making sure it's in our policies, making sure if a person comes up to me, young and old, that if they say to me, counsellor or whoever, I've got a mental health problem, they're not processed through the door. How do I, through the equal ops scheme, make sure that we have the demography working within the council that are outside of the council? We've got 187 languages out there. We've got a very diverse community, but at the moment, that community isn't coming through the door. Me and Sharon sit on panels to interview chief execs and what have you, but you're not seeing Black and Asian people in the shortlisting, because at the moment, the training is not there to bring them up to speed. So I'm saying to you, I sit on cabinet, the challenges are in cabinet, but the only good thing I can say to you, cabinet is 50% men and women. It was 40% ethnic minority to the white community. That at last we did get right. The problem is one of our cabinet members walked out, but never mind. But at the end of the day, we tried. But I can honestly say local authorities are struggling. Social care is absolutely at a low ebb. Social care, it takes up over £500 million of the budget. When I was growing up, somebody of 40 looked old to me because I never saw an old black person. I was born here and I didn't know what an older black person is. Black people don't understand the system in social care. They don't understand the help they can get. They don't understand the support because within our families, we don't talk about it. And so we only do anything about it when we're there, and when you're in the crisis with an 80-year-old mother and an 82-year-old father, sometimes it's too late. So these discussions need to be had before, but it's out of we as a council ensure discussions happen. This afternoon, I would say to you, this argument or this discussion has to go two ways. What is it are you saying you want from us? You can't just keep saying we're not doing, because as a community, we are being left behind because we come in a group like this, we say we're not getting, we go away and they don't hear from us again. You may be annoyed by what Prit said, but she's right. She has learned that if you're going to get there, survive and grow, you've got to be part of it, not standing on the edge sniping at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think what we want to do is have questions at the speakers. I've got two speakers, this one, two, and then there was a third gentleman. Yeah, he's not paying attention. No. He had his hand up right from 2 o'clock this afternoon. So he'll be the third. Yes? So 1, 2, 3. Council, listen to the question. First question.
You started to tell us about the right? And I think that's I've seen it's now a new phenomenon now. Schools popping up all over, and said there might be one underneath the cellar here, and it's filled with our children. Now, one of the things that happened was we had a knife crime happened in London. The Prime Minister said they were putting £20 million on the table to talk about it. And it looks like that £20 million, it didn't come down to us. They talked about it and paid themselves for talking. Now, financially, we need to get ourselves together and demand money, because we can't send our children to their psychiatrists. They can't help us. They won't even, right, we need to develop these systems for ourselves. We've got people who can deliver, right, programs to stop. We've got people who can deliver programs to stop the children dropping out of school, and if they do, we should be able to go and demand the money to do it for ourselves.
Because the money's still allocated for the
yes. And what I'm saying is, right, when they allocated that 20, I don't know if anyone is aware. I think it happened last year or the year before, when the knife thing just started, right? £20 million, and you know what they did with the £20 million? The white people, they fear themselves to talk to one another about our problem.
What's the question?
Right. So what I'm saying is, how with this, we need to be, as I say, politically active. And there was a part of this where you said you were going to talk about how to. There's a training program within Momentum.
The next speaker is from Momentum.
Right, there's a training program from Momentum. Yes. I'd like to know about it.
Sure.
But we've got to be trained up to go and take what's ours. And furthermore, our black vote should not have to be thrown with Labour. We should be sophisticated enough to build that vote under any auspices, Labour, Conservative, and take it where we want to, or withhold it. Because why should we, just because they want to use us and abuse us, they do it all the time, and Jeremy Corbyn is a perfect example of what's going on there now.
Okay, that's the question, yeah?
Yeah, so we need to know how to get that money to do for ourselves and build for us. These schools, they're going to be ours.
Thank you, ma'am. This is the gentleman next to you.
I agree.
Second question.
I'm saying.
So shall we move on then? You agree with everything?
No.
All right.
I'm saying.
Ask the question.
I'm saying when Corbyn, what we need to say to Corbyn or whoever, I'm
Yeah.
talking about local Labour as well as
Sure.
national Labour.
Yeah.
When my boy there, what's his name? When David Cameron removed race from the agenda and replaced it with diversity, we all suck it. Now what we want to do is to get Corbyn or whoever want to lead the Labour Party to get race back on the table. So, and take the diversity away, because nothing can understand what diversity is about. Yeah? It's just a distraction. So, what this lady said and what this brother said over here, we can have what we want. We put race back on the table and take diversity out of it.
Yeah, chance to ask a question.
Yes.
You forget?
There's so much there. But what he was talking about was systems, yeah, and how systems work. Yeah. I'm a person that understands and knows how system works. Yeah. I break codes. I break the codes that they make. Now, I have repeatedly stated to people in the Labour Party that the word Labour is the only one that is written in the Bible. Yeah. No UKIP, no Lib Dem, no. Yeah. Now, Hosni Mubarak got away with blue murder on account of the Supreme Judge could not define jurisdiction. It's how you define jurisdiction. Jurisdiction in anything and everything. If it's good enough for murder, then it's good enough to set us free.
The question?
Jurisdiction comes from the Bible. It is Psalms 24.
Oh, scripture.
Right?
I noticed.
Now,
can we have the question? Can we get the question?
no, this is part of the system as to how we didn't understand how it works. We are on a 1984 program. That is what is causing the problems with our education. 2 and 2 does make 4, not 5.
See, we all make speeches, right? And people can get upset if they didn't get a chance to answer the question.
Okay, now I'm coming to
the question. Excellent.
Yeah? The question is, I have got some innovative ideas which I need funding for. Yeah, it will bring the nations to its knees. It's called perpetual motion. Yeah? So it's part of what Labour needs for its economy, so that we can elect a Labour government. But unless you understand how these things work, we will not be able to get there. But I swear to you, whatever problems you have got, look into jurisdiction. If you can identify where you have that jurisdiction, that's where our power and our...
Yeah, councillor's got your question. I'll take the next three, which is the lady right next to you, the gentleman in the white coat, and the gentleman next to him. And then we'll move on to, then Paul will come back, and then we'll move on to the next speaker. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Thomas. My question is, after being unemployed and kicked in the long grass in the NHS for 7 years, I've managed to get myself on a public health program because I'm a nurse, midwife, and health visitor. And was unemployed for 7 years doing voluntary work within the community on my own volition. Managed to get into do a master's program in public health because I see it as a way forward, because a lot of the problems that exist within the Black community is not documented. It's not, there's no evidence in terms of how many public health is quite broad-based. So it affects education, health, mental health, housing, domestic violence, tooth moot. So I wanted to know how could I, in my little corner, use my educational forum to make a difference, because the only way you could make a difference is by being a part of, if you're not part of the situation, you're part of the problem. So that's my idea. I would like to find out from the TED table, how can I make a difference in terms of public health of the Black community, because we have lots of issues, lots and lots of issues. So that's my take. I've spoken to Sharon knows me, and I've done some work, but because I'm full-time student now, I want to use this Black forum, because when I'm looking for evidence to do my research, there is nothing there. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of children out of school, but where is the evidence? We have mental health. People not accepting the fact that they have mental health problems. They're diabetic. I have a little bit of sugar. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be able to give evidence so that we can use it. When you go in a court of law, you need to have contemporaneous information. If you don't have information, you can't make your case.
That's a good question.
That's it. So that's my question. How can
Gentlemen, your question, please, to Councillor.
My name is Lee Ramakoy, and I'm glad to give me something to say because I feel kind of frustrated. I've been in the system, yeah, and I understand really how the system works, but the system is not the system as you know it. It's changed. And I hear a lot of people attacking Jeremy Corbyn, but listen, he's under attack. What we need to do is support him.
Exactly.
I'm not going to tell you where the attack is coming from. You need to read news, yeah? No. Since 1993, I stood up in Langley prison, yeah? When I reflect and I confront the authorities about the youth, because I had Doolan. I've been active, yeah? And I see how the system treats us as Black people. You know, dribblings, we fight against each other continuously. But I think what's needed to do, right? We need to understand how the system is working. And it's working, what we want to say.
Yeah.
So we have to be proactive in a positive way. Yeah. I sit on the board in Walsall a few weeks ago and understand where the money goes. In the care home, it takes a lot of money to work with special youth, so there's no money for mentoring. We don't challenge our council and ask them or accountancy how the money gets spent. These are the way we need to look at things. The money comes in and the money gets diverted like special care. Yeah. So I'm saying at the moment, the political system is not like we've ever seen it. Yeah. And you only have to look at the way Jeremy Corbyn has been attacked. He don't have a chance even to tackle our little issue, to maintain his seat. But I do feel good. I see either Asian or a Black sit behind him with me. So we have to kind of stop watching the TV, BBC, Sky News, because it's not telling you nothing. And do your own research. Yeah. I don't think the panel is here for a dartboard. They're here to kind of communicate. Yeah. I am trying to do something for the first time in my life. I discovered that there's an iron bridge in Jamaica, there's an iron bridge here. So I'm trying to bridge that gap between the red, white, and blue, and the red, gold, and green. Yeah? Amen. No. With that, my intention is to create a festival in Shrewsbury to kind of generate money to mentor youth, because you're not going to get no money from the way we're going down. And you're right, madam. A lot of the people fall off the seats once the money dry up. With me. I stood on the table using my canteen money, yeah, to contact Peter Wilson, to contact Head Doolan, just with our stamp money, just to get our vice out with a thing called Stress Busters. So since 1993, I put my life on the line to set up mental health in prison for the offenders. I don't cut myself, but this time I need it to be said. And sometimes we need to do our own research and stuff.
Yeah. So, gentleman next to you, your question, please.
Yeah. What is Sharon and here? Yes. I came all the way from Telford, so to me it is important enough to come here. Yeah. Because I work with children in their care. I work for virtual school. And what you said about the schools being, we don't have no schools. There was a school here in Handsworth, the Seawell Academy, that was started by a black guy. It eventually got taken over by a company called Titan. So that's another black institution that was started by a black person, taken over by a white company. Yeah. And I deliver teaching to the children in care. And I've got one black guy who's with me now. He was brought up in Shrewsbury, moved to Wen, and basically all throughout his village that he was living in, abuse. Even at the school, abuse. His whole report says it all. So it's never addressed. Now they said he couldn't even read or write or anything like that, and he couldn't add up. I spent an hour with him showing him how to add up. He got 75%. I sent that off to the board so they could see. Yeah, all those kind of things. Said he couldn't spell. I gave him spelling tests. He got 75% of it as that as well. So our children, when we have our children, they do well from the age of 5 up to 10 when they take their SATs. And we send them into a battle in senior school with no ammunition. Because my nephews, who are mixed race kids, one of them was asked in the music lesson, very much the music lesson, how does it feel that your ancestors were enslaved? Now that psychological damages our children and puts empowerment in the white children in that class. There's only 3 black children in that whole school. 3. And they're empowered, the white kids. Also, when my son came home with some homework when he was 8 years old, he's mixed race as well, asked to put down on make a list of all the countries that took part in the Second World War, and there was only Europe on there, no Africa. The question is, what we need to do, and if you agree with me, we should have learning centres set up. So when our children are excluded from school, that we take them in and we look after them, and we also provide bodies that will back our children in school if there's something that comes up. You don't have to be related to that child, but if you're there, you can go into that school and represent that child, regardless. That's what we should be doing. Do you agree?
Okay.
That's the question.
We've got a question. One last question for Paulette.
Paulette, you know, I know you've been doing great work for decades and decades in our community, so obviously we commend you for that. But one of the things that I picked up over the many decades of working from that government level and attending various meetings in council is that one of the mistakes that the city council did was to remove the equality impact assessment on organizations. When they took out that, remember the strategy that we used to have, when they took out the equality impact assessment, then actually inequality grew more across our communities. Now, whilst yes, there is an issue that as our community, we need to get stronger and better at working together, and as Asher and everybody said, create our own systems. We don't need to ask the government to do that. We can, we've got a centre here, ACMC Centre. Here is the heart of our community right about now, been standing for nearly 40 years. So if you want to create a system, come together, have a weekly, monthly, whatever meeting we need to have and create that. But in terms of the city council, when you go back to them, if you could ask them if they truly want to deal with equality and diversity, they need to bring back in that equality impact assessment. Yeah, but it's still there, but it's not being used in the way. It's not being used in the way that it used to be used. Because they used to have a scoring system, and every organization that partnered up with the city council or partnered with the private sector, the city council and community sector, had to utilize, and there was a scoring system. If you didn't meet it, then maybe they wouldn't get as much funding. So one thing I'll say is, if it's still there, can you try and see if they can improve it? So in terms of their policies and procedures, there is a way that when it comes to the community, there is a measurement from the community, not just mainly from top down. Because at the moment, a lot of things are measured through policy.
Has your question. She has your question.
Yes.
Now, there were 7 speakers just now, probably about 2 questions. Can you just respond?
Yeah. Right, the equality impact assessment.
Yes.
We still have it.
Okay.
It is still there. My view is it is being done but not being implemented correctly.
That's right.
The examples that I gave during my talk, the fact that if you're not even doing it with your staff, you're not doing it relating to demography and around race and ethnicity How are you then going to do it with the third sector? Who at the moment, because of the cuts in local council, we've decimated them. Because over the years, the government insisted we needed to look at statutory and non-statutory, and anything that was non-statutory, they went first. So I agree with you, and those are the challenges and the discussions we are currently having. First question. The gentleman there about, do I think we should set up organisation? Can I just wrap that up with all the funding questions? It's all right saying, give us the funding. You need to have some sort of idea of when you get the funding, which at the moment isn't there. So you need to make the case for the funding. No, don't respond to me. You've spoken, so I'm just saying to you, what we need to do as a community is make the case for the funding. But once the funding comes to you, that you're not relying on that particular funding agency to sustain you. Because the problem is they will give you the first bit of funding, and because we keep coming back, we need more, sir, can I have some more? When they get ready and the money isn't there, you're the first to go, no matter what work you're doing. So going forward, I hear what people saying about the government having all these pots of money, but we've got to find a way to become sustainable. I don't want you to come back to me because I'm going to have one more question about public health. Public health is key to all of this. I head up public health in this city. It is cross-cutting to everything that we do. This lady is spot on. The problem is a lot of what we're doing, we're not connecting it to the issues that we're facing out there. So when they look at other communities, a prime example is the Sikh community. You guys did not use PRIP well enough. Whoever asked the question about the private members bill, the only private members bill she's put through that I know of is about how to enable the Sikh community to be a grouping on their own. You should have followed it through, because I love her dearly, but she is the community expression. I can't blame that. What have we as a community pressured them to do for us? We can't keep public health, going back to that quickly, is absolutely key to all of this. And in public health at the moment, it's moved to the council. We get over £100 million a year to spend on well-being, public health issues, drug and alcohol, sexual health, and what have you, around public health. Where is the voice of the community in all of this? How many of you know who the public health director is? How many of you have ever written to the public health director and said to the public health director, this is an issue, we need you to address or look at that issue?
That's what I understand the voice is supposed to be.
Anyway, I hear you, but what I'm saying is there are a lot of people here, unfortunately, that are not part of the Black Momentum Caucus. So what I'm saying to them is, and this is where I shut up, I know, but what I'm saying to you is if they don't come in, they still must use their voice. And in some of these issues, write to those people to make them aware of what's going on, because that's where the power is. And I'll shut up.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Now we're moving on to our next speaker, because you notice I've got 4 more speakers to get through, and I'm struggling. Now, when Jeremy Corbyn stood to be leader in 2015, I know it seems a long way back, he went around the country, and at first there were only about 2 or 3 people in the room. And then as the thing went on, the rooms were packed, and people were all around the roads trying to get into Jeremy's meeting. When Jeremy was elected leader, all those people who supported him, they got them together to form an organization called Momentum within the Labour Party. And Momentum's job, Jeremy, and get him elected. Now, our next speaker is Michael, who sits on Momentum's national coordinating group. Now, this is our 2nd meeting of the speaking tour, and I've heard very controversial things about Momentum at both of these meetings. Answer some of your questions. Michael,
we might talk about this.
Yes, you've been told that.
Well, thank you for inviting me to this event. I'm going to tell you straight, this is the first time I've ever spoken publicly to an Afro-Caribbean group, or publicly within my own sort of political activism, which started in 2014. I believe, and within the Labour Party, there's a deficit of a lack of Black and Afro-Caribbean voices, and that's both nationally and locally. I grew up in Smethwick, on the Albury Road. I was born in Dudley Road Hospital, so I feel it and I see it, and I can't understand within my own local Labour Party why there is not many Black men within the local as councillors. That's one of the issues why I believe within myself that I joined an organisation called Momentum, because we're doing it differently. We're trying to do it at what we call a grassroots level, which is listening to people like yourselves, but get them mobilised enough to actually come out and, you know, talk about your issues to the, let's say, to the people who've got the influence and the power. I mean, I feel really proud and humbled that I'm 62 Black, you know, Afro-Caribbean women here. You know what I mean? But where's the Black men? Where's our you know, young boys, you know, who are their next inspiration within our local council? But what we've got to figure out, shouting and pointing fingers, you've got to come out and start thinking, hold on a minute, I've got my opinions, I've got my voices, I've got my rights about issues, about funding. The only way you're going to change that is to get yourselves in the system. And how many, I'm going to ask you all, how many are actually in a political party at the minute? Just put your hand up if you actually join. Right. So there's the issue. We've got to get more voices, whatever political. I mean, I'm a Labour Party member, and I joined after Joe before we got elected. But it's basically making sure that you have your say, but you've got to step up and come out and go to the meetings, join the Labour Party, get active. Don't take no for an answer. I only became politically active because of a dog bit where I lived on Walsh House Farm. Right, it's a council estate. I live in social housing, and I've seen what the Tories' policies of austerity are hitting our council, and it's these people like these councils who are trying to bring our services. Yeah, I really do hate Theresa May with a passion, because I understand what she's doing to people like my parents who came over and who were told no Blacks, no Irish, none of this. Yeah, yet she worked through the system. My mom was a care worker. She's now retired. She's never took nothing out of the system, but now she's supporting my dad who has dementia. So we're having all that pressure as well. So we're trying to fight that struggle. Yeah, so when people say, well, I don't want to say anything or do anything, you've got to get out there and you've got to make your voice heard. And he says exactly what Pauline and Sharon are trying to do. Now, some of the decisions that they make, I don't agree with them, but I do support what they're trying to do. But we've got to get out there. We've got to get more young. I'm going to come from a personal point of view, more Black men into local government to become the next councillors. Then you can set the agenda, right? You can set the agenda. How many? I will tell you what's a shocking statistic in this city, right? All the top jobs are all taken by white middle-class men, and I don't even live in the city. And I'm going to tell you another shocking statistic. Yeah, the Commonwealth Games, right? Where it's predominantly Black people from the Commonwealth who are running around the track for entertainment. Guess who's delivering that to our city? White people. Yes? So you've got to stop moaning and get politically active. That's why I joined Momentum. Now, all this talk about we're different, we're ultra left. I'm a guy, I'm a councillor. I don't know whether my next role is to step up to be a councillor, but I'm going to think seriously about it, because at the end of the day, there's a deficit of Black voices within the city centre, right? It's all being built there, yet places like Handsworth, Smethwick, Lascelles, where there's no. But at the end of the day, we've all got to think. Let's try to come as a collective and think about talking about our issues. On Welsh House Farm, right? On Welsh House Farm, as a local group of residents, we've managed to bring about £3 million into that estate, because local government don't have the money, but we've had to do it through a collective of people, and that's a different way of doing things. But don't rely on the government to solve your problem out. You've got to get politically active. I'm not saying if you want to go out and support Pre-Gill, we should be electing our own Black men as MPs, our own black women as MPs. They should be here talking to you, not going down London and just being on TV. They need to talk about the issues. And again, I believe this Windrush was a racist policy imposed on my parents, on your parents. And we've got to say, enough is enough. So for my little, I actually came with a list to talk about, but clearly there's something on another level. So I hope my little 5-minute intervention is where I'm at. And as I said, I'm a Labour Party supporter, I'm a Jeremy Corbyn supporter, and please God, thank you for
the Windrush is in there, housing is in there.
No. It's not about that fight. I want to fight the true MBC.
Yes.
When I'm going to look at the way forward and all the objectives, I will really discuss this.
Anyone can put their hand up.
I know the conditions out there already.
Anyone can put their hand up and talk about what's in the black agenda. I'm not stopping anyone from doing that. Okay?
I thought we heard about MBC. Well,
I don't hear Michael saying anything which is different from what MBC is trying to do.
About the conditions out there, or we must become active. How do we become active through MBC? Tell us now, what are we going to agree to some of the things?
You can join MBC via our
No, but I want to talk about the policy and all this.
Well, each speaker is addressing different parts of the black agenda. If you've listened, you'll have heard the different speakers addressing different parts of the black agenda. But we've also said, if nothing is in there that interests you, then you need to add to it.
So when I'm going to get to do that?
Well, that's what we've been doing since 2 o'clock. Has anybody, are we missing something?
Yes.
Okay, let's get the next person. What's the next question? So Michael, yes? Questions, Michael, this gentleman here.
Yes. We're going to talk about cutbacks here. And you did mention that. Well, what's the plan for efficiency? 1. Equality. 2. Transparency.
Yes.
Justice and injustice. What is the policy for them? We don't hear anything about that.
Thank you for your questions.
Well, I mean, go on, but I mean, there might be an issue.
Anyone who wants to ask a question yet? Want to ask a question? Yes, Claude in the back.
For the guy from Momentum, 2 points. Very good point about you trying to convince people that it is important that they join a political party, even if they're not interested in being a councillor, even when they don't want to be an MP, but it's important that black people join a political party. Yeah, it's got to be seen, because we're the ones that are missing. Even the Asians, when elections come, they're bussing them in, coaching them in. Black people, we're not voting. And I have a belief, if you don't vote, sometimes it can be said you don't deserve a say. It's nice to come to these platforms and make a lot of noise, but let's vote with our feet. Let us join a political party. Secondly, I'm from Leeds, yeah, so I hosted this meeting in Leeds. And I did run for councillor last year within Leeds. My question to you about Momentum as an institute, as Jeremy Corbyn's fighting tank, because that's Jeremy Corbyn in principle created Momentum. Yeah. Momentum has been known and been pulled up for trying to undermine black councillors outside, maybe not in London, but there's a lot of talk about how Momentum members have been undermining black councillors outside of London. So it's important that, and we've taken this to Momentum, and we're taking it to Momentum in Leeds. It is important, and you being a black guy as part of Momentum, and I hope you sound quite positive, but using your voice to go back to Momentum and tell them they're putting a bad taste in the mouths of black people outside of London. Yeah? They're my questions.
Right. Any other questions to Michael that people haven't asked questions yet? That want to ask a question? The gentleman.
It seems like you are sort of aligned with Corbyn.
No, not sort of.
You are.
You
have to just sit down.
I'm sure you can sit with here, right?
Okay. You know, my question is, there is a conflict within the Labour Party at the present time. Yes. And Coburn is the problem. I know, but I'm just asking.
Let me ask this question. I'd like to know, right, from all of you on the panel, if you think black people should have, we've got an agenda that we've got to follow. It's called Exodus. Right. We are operating on a multi-level, there are forces, multi-level forces, and they're against us. What we must, I would like to know, if you feel that we need, do you think we need a monitor? In fact, I'm not going to ask a question, I'm just going to give you the answer. Can I do that?
Yes, but okay.
I'll give you the answer. I'm going to give you the question. The answer is this.
Give us the answer.
The answer is this. Across the pond, our erstwhile cousins, the Americans, have now given themselves a name. It's called DOS. Descendants of slaves. Now, please, we all know we're kings and queens. That's the real thing. So the descendants of slaves is talking about us kings and queens being made less than kings and queens.
Deal with your question.
So the question is, have you got a name? I'm going to give you the answer. No, I'm not going to answer the question. The answer is ADOS. ADOS means American descendants of slaves. BDOS means Brazilian descendants of slaves, and CDOS means Caribbean descendants of slaves. So we need to identify who we are, where we're going, what we're doing, and where we're going. And wherever we're going, we've got to use all available means. So if we've got to use the Labour Party, use the Labour Party. We've got to use the Conservative.
Thank you very much, ma'am. One second. What's happening here, right? No, 1 second. What I want to do, right? No. I know how helpful you can be, man. What I want to do, right, because I invited these people to speak, I want to get them to say a few words. And then everybody will be able to contribute and ask their questions at this point. Yes, I'm going to narrow them down. I'm going to call the very helpful Sharon Thompson, Councillor for Birmingham, and I know that Sharon can narrow it down for us.
Can you answer the questions, please?
Okay. Did you see any questions there?
Don't
make them up, you know.
All right. I'll do from the momentum perspective, right? Now, somebody asked me about policy. Yeah, basically, the momentum is an organising group that's aligned with the Labour Party. And yes, it's with Jeremy Corbyn. It wasn't Jeremy Corbyn actually started it. It was a guy called John Lansman. That's right. Right? So basically, I want to put that myth to bed. But we are aligned with the Labour Party, and that's who I believe is somebody that can transform Britain if we can get him elected. It's going to be a hard journey because you can see on TV, okay, all the issues around it. And again, we were talking about what was the question? The second question of Exodus. Okay, well, again, it's a movement of young people, isn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what we should be, a movement of people. So that's what you've got to do. We've got to self-organise and get our voices heard. Yeah. I really would love to see more Black Afro-Caribbean people as councillors. That's the only way you're going to shape policy within the city centre and places like that, right? And the momentum also bringing for the first time in Birmingham, black training. It's going to be at the Unite building next week. So if anybody wants to find out about that, I want to come and find out more about, being a black activist. Then come and find out because I'm trying to sort of get that up and running. So that's that. I think there's one more. No, it wasn't. Wasn't there? No. Sorry.
Is that you like this?
That's
have you got something wrong with me?
No, I'm trying to get you answer. And what I want to do, right, is to get the speakers in quickly. We're going to narrow down the contribution to to give you more time to debate and discuss, so that we can get proper engagement with you. So I'm going to call on the speakers, 5 minutes, and I'm going to time them. By the time we get to Maxi, probably be 2. But Sharon, 5 minutes.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much. I wasn't expecting to be on the panel today, I thought I'd just sneak back and sit down. So I haven't actually prepared anything. But I'm the cabinet member for Homes and Neighbourhoods. So that includes housing, parks and allotments, bereavement services, and also localisation. So Paulette's been in the cabinet a lot longer than me. And actually, it's people like Paulette that actually paved the way in order for me to be able to be positioned there. And actually, when I was there, giving me guidance on the things that I really needed to do. And one of the things that I'll say, I'm not going to talk about the portfolio, I'm not going to talk about the housing brief, but what I will say, because I know that time is short here, I'm happy to set something up in the future where there's a group of people from the African Caribbean community to come and talk about housing policy, focus on housing policy. Derived into else things, I'll go, I'm not doing this because this isn't what we're here for. We have to be focused. And I think my contribution that I want to make here is actually about leverage. It's about being focused, and it's about being systemic and strategic in that. We've been here for 2 hours, and we've heard, ask a question, ask a question, ask a question. And we've gone off into things, and there's probably a little question in there. Now, we have to go to meetings with all communities. Not all communities organise themselves the way that we do, because they know what they're asking before they get in the room, they're strategic, they understand what they're doing, and that's how they know how to get more things, because it's about leverage. I'm not going to promote that you need to join my party. If you want to, I think you should, but what I will say is it's about leverage. Now, me and Paulette are 2 of about 6 or 7 black councillors in Birmingham out of 101. We don't have a huge amount of leverage. We're lucky that we're in cabinet, that actually we've got an opportunity to be really focused on the policies that we've got. Now, part of the things that we see is jigsaw puzzle when it comes to the African Caribbean community. We are a part of the jigsaw puzzle. We're not your end and be all. Everything gets thrown at us, we get abused, we get trolled, we get swore at, we get you name it. And the majority of it comes from the black community. Other communities will come to us and they'll come to us with a plan. They'll tell us I have it on paper. I get ideas come to me all the time, and then I'll give them advice, do that, do this, try this, do this, because we need to learn to play chess. That's all it is. Learning how to play chess. People go away and they'll do what we say, and it's not like dictators, but they'll take suggestions and then they'll come back. Some never come back at all, and then some go away, come back later, and then abuse us because it never worked out for them. When actually, you didn't. The advice that we're giving you is giving you for a reason, because we're in the system and we've had to learn how to play chess to get to cabinet and to survive whilst we're in there. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing. What I'm saying is this, you've got to think of it like when it comes to politics and different communities, you've got to think of it like it's a military operation. And if we was on the battlefield, we wouldn't survive. I'm telling you that. Other communities would. We wouldn't survive on the battlefield. We do need more people that are going to be in positions of councillors and also MPs. I personally have a group of about 10 young people, Paula has young people as well. They shadow us, they come into the council house, we mentor them because they're focused and they know what they want to do, and we'll work with those young individuals. But the reality of it is what we're saying is it's a two-way thing. So if you're not, for instance, Paulette was in a situation where when she was standing for re-selection, there was another group that didn't want her to get selected, but we didn't have enough people within the party to vote for in order to get selected. So we had to go through the whole thing in order to make that happen. So that's what we need to do. And the other thing is when there's issues in schools and things like that, what I say to people, my diary is rammed. So if it's a case of, I'm offering people dates in a month's time because diaries it's impossible, our diaries as cabinet members. And it's not because we don't want to meet with people, but that's the reality of it. If I'm saying to you, I've got 1 hour, don't come to me and sit there for 45 minutes telling me what happened 20 years ago. Talk to me about the strategic plan, how we can do it, and what we need to do. I'll talk to you about policies if you've got questions about policies. The main issues for me in the city is there's a housing crisis on. And a lot of the things are coming from national government in terms of their policies that are pushing people further and further into crisis. And we're talking about austerity and we're talking about all of those things. I am a councillor, I do local politics. We do ballot in order to move it up the chain into to national things. Well, what we're saying is, I hear people say we need to campaign on this, you need to campaign on that. 24 hours in a day, there's only a few of us councillors. We need the community in order to do that, to lobby, be strategic and clear. Ben made a point about being, I want to know what you're talking about in the document. I want to know what your policies around unemployment, criminal justice, because Ben's talking about is, we are sitting in discussing things that are 20 years, this, that. Ben's saying we need to be focused for over 2 hours. What's in this document? What are we endorsing and what do we want to ask Jeremy Corbyn for? Other communities are very, very clear on what they want to ask. Jeremy Corbyn, Theresa May, you name it, any of the things. We need to be organised and be clear about the policies that we want them to be advocated on our behalf. And that's what I've got to say.
We need a young representative on our platform, and we've invited Antonia, who is very active.
Young. Oh,
yeah, you're younger than me, so that Antonia, 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes.
Starting from now.
Greetings, everybody. Antonio Forsyth, also known as Citizen X. Citizen, it could be from anywhere, X meaning anybody. So, all right, then. I've heard a few things mentioned today, and I'd like to give some importance of urgency. If I was to ask you 2 questions, to what extent do you depend on someone else for your A, survival, and B, for your freedom? So if someone ran into this room now and decided to clear out everyone's pockets, what could all of you so-called connected people do about it? Who would you have to call upon? Which agencies would have to be set up? Do they have the actual strength to deliver what's required for your outcome? So at the moment, we believe the NHS Trust, we believe the police authoritarian services, and we believe any facet of information that's given to us, not realizing that we have information processes. So we'll always have information to process. So while that constant battle is there, for example, this is actually where it gets to the key of where you can actually come from here and start thinking more objectively. And not everyone's aware of Brexit. Make a bit of noise if you're aware of Brexit. Yes. Brexit, some people have said. Are you aware, actually, at the moment, there's a party called the EFF, and they are in Africa. There'll be some people that miss this noise talking and allow the devil to come in. Yeah. Yes. So what I'm saying is, right about now, when you have the paradigm of the smoke screen of the Brexit, you also have the EFF, which has already moved out a lot of white settlers or investors from Africa, South Africa, with no compensation. They've also said they're going to follow on what Gaddafi and Saddam have done. This is live. You can go on RT News or anywhere. Have a look while Brexit's going on. And they'll be saying they're welcoming all the blacks from around the world through dysphoria. They're saying sorry for all of the Africans. You know, politicians can't say sorry. They always claim that they weren't there and that there was a detachment before. It's not the fight, but there's a detachment between them and the actual result that the people require. Sorry, there's a bit noisy here, guys. Thank you. So this leads back to the Exodus. If you think that we should be unifying more and participating more, it's very participation psychologically, mentally, and emotionally. We've got young people in this room who are about to pick up directly your enthusiasm, MPs, everybody's, even mine, hopefully. I'm not consistent as a young person. I'm 32 years old, so I can tell you I've survived the care system. I've survived from the age of 3 to the age of 15. I was the age of 20, actually. I was homeless at 15, so I encountered the homeless services. A lot of you still work there while I was creating a dialogue and overcoming homelessness. Why don't you ask someone like myself, and you'll find out what it's really like to go through the system without the potential stay. And then, why is Ken Walker frozen to death recently? Is a question a lot of people like to ask. This is a man who had benefits. This is a man who had a support worker. It's a man who froze to death whilst going through the revolving doors of these so-called systems. And I will say, it's not good enough to vote for the lesser of 4 evils. In the Bible, it talks about the lesser of 4 evils. They were first mentioned around the times of the consensus, when Moses was actually leading the people from Pharaoh to Egypt. He didn't make the promised land himself, but got better for the people doing things like this. So, though we love to be here and we like to pat each other down for our good work, we're not to be praised for people freezing to death. We all have the same job we had today and yesterday. We need to be creating a new environment. And because I don't hear no one talking in the new environment, I work with children. It's not, you might know what I'm really business about anymore, because, or even myself, I'm past that age now, you know, and the government set the parameters. I'll be reading about a minute left, maybe?
A minute, sir.
All right, so the government set the parameters, the gender parameters, the food parameters, the weather parameters.
They're imposed.
They're very,
They're imposed.
well, it's called totalitarianism. That's the correct term. Some people are used to authoritarianism, which is where there's an element of control. Democracy, where there's a half control. Laissez-faire, when you get total control, we trust you. This is not an egalitarian society like Switzerland, where it's egalitarianism. That's the solution. So the solution is we have to take ownership of the welfare situation instead of be owned by it, because there's a lot of old world rhetoric still attached to the welfare system. Though they want to make new school rhetoric, such as universal credit, universal means what it says on the tin, for everybody. So you may think you're rich today, that will make you eligible by next week. You need to be prepared for that and the 5G takeover, and you need to actually start listening to people that may be scratching at your door, banging your door. Oh, one last thing, I could have died last week if I was made homeless, and if it wasn't for the heartiness of some people, a network of people, not agencies, then I wouldn't be dead. So all the work that's in me, and I'm fighting at the moment not to be a criminal, not to have deviant thoughts, and we should represent everybody like that. Just something to
Our final speaker.
What does GFF created in Africa?
Economic freedom fighters.
Our final speaker, last but not least, is Maxine Held. Birmingham. We've known Maxine for over 30 odd years through the black sections, the Labour Party. So he will wrap up about the black agenda and the policies that should be taken back to Corbyn. Maxine.
Last but not least.
I did say 5 minutes.
So Mike, it's working? Anyway, my voice is loud. It's a 5 minutes, but you know I'm not gonna take 5 minutes. It's soft for me to take.
Your friend.
Anyway, I just like to say congratulations for a first-time speaker. Wow, give him a round of applause. When I look around the room, I see young people. I invited Antonia. Give him a hand. I've invited Warren, young Warren. When they refer to me, they usually refer to me as Sir Max, or the veteran, and I wear that with what do you call it, badge of honor. Yeah, but you know, I think I wanted to bring my own perspective to this, because I'm fed up of the statistics. I've seen it. I've been all over the world and see all of this that's been taking place. So what I think is missing is a bit of historical background, because I think black people have been knocked down so many times. You know, Al Sharpton some years ago when he came to London, and he spoke to some black youngsters who were flirting with the criminal justice system. He said, if I knock you, it's on me. But if I come back and find you on the ground, it's on you. You're not responsible for where you are, but you're certainly responsible for getting up, dusting yourself off, and taking yourself home. One of the problems we have is that it's all right saying that people should join parties and whatever, but they need more. A lot of black people do not know their history. They don't know their worth. Everything, I mean, the late transport union boss, Bob Crow, had this to say to a group of striking workers. If you don't fight, if you fight, you won't always win. But if you don't fight, you will always lose. Our history shows us that we have to fight, and we have to fight for everything. Yeah? So that takes me into a little history trip, and I can't really do what I want to do today because the pressure me here. And yeah, Queen, warrior queen, Yaya Ashantiwa comes to mind. You know, Queen Mother Ashantiwa. What she did in 1896, when the king was in exile, the British Army, and you know, they usually like to run rough shoulder over people. What they started to do, they went into the village and they wanted to push the people around. And Ashantiwa said, listen, this is not gonna happen. Right? So there was a golden stool. Have you heard the story about the golden stool?
Yeah.
So they wanted, the guy, the man, the governor was so Hudson. He was so cheeky. He didn't even want to sit on it. He wanted to take it for Britain, let them take away our things. And the people, and Toronto said, because the men were cowed, they were afraid. And she says, listen, you the men of the Ashantiwa, you're so frightened. But I tell you what we'll do. I'll organize a group of women. And they did manage to muster 5,000. And then she said, we'll fight the British until the last one of us drop. And of course, they went to war. But Ashantiwa and her army was no match for a powerful, experienced, and well-equipped British army. And so they were subdued. In no time they were. But what they did by fighting, guess what? They managed to save the golden stool, which was incidentally the art of the Asante people. You know, and that is one example that we have to fight. We have to fight for everything that we have. You know, if we look at another thing I wanted to bring to you here is the journey. Where are we coming from? Enslavement, colonialism, imperialism, apartheid, segregation, Jim Crow era, neocolonialism, which we're still in to some extent. They refer to us the assimilation model, which we put two fingers up because we all know what that meant. Integration, multiculturalism. Then we have the Windrush scandal. So we've been through all of that, and we reach a stage now whereby we're in this country and we've been kicked about, pushed about by a people. All of this agenda that I'm hearing here is out of Geneva twice. 20 of us as NGOs, non-governmental bodies, went to the United Nations Assembly Committee, and we put all of this to them periodically every 3 years. So it's nothing new. They usually refer to us, the British delegation usually refer to us as critical friends. That's what they call us, the British government delegation that they send along with our report. We're critical friends. So all of what is in the Black agenda now, we have taken it onto the international stage. When it concerns the criminal justice, and guess what? I love the way the program is because it gives you an opportunity to dance here. Criminal justice system. Look at what happened. 20 years on the 24th of February, 20 years since Sir William McPherson recommendation on the brutal murder of schoolboy Stephen Lawrence. What has been achieved out of that? None of the recommendations have been adhered to. I hear people raise impact assessment of what have you. In fact, recent reports show that it's only 40% of cases that are referred to the CPS. Because you stop at the police station, from the moment you reach the police station, they're putting their definition as what constitutes racial terrorism. And yet, McPherson, in his recommendation, actually spelled it out, that the perception of the victims should be taken on board. And you're talking to Maxie Hale, somebody who has run several racial units. Birmingham Racial Attacks Monitoring Unit, Sandwell Racial Harassment Unit. At one stage, in 2010, when they withdrew funding, we had 250 people on our books. No impact assessment. So the recommendation is actually being diluted and watered down. The criminal justice system has failed the black community miserably. 1981, Lord Scarman report, which failed to admit that Britain was institutionally racist.
It is.
Of course it still is, and it's getting worse, right? Now, when we hear about the hostile environment, immigration and stuff like that, we must remember, we need to go back. It's not a new phenomenon. We need to go back to the 17th century, when Elizabeth I, she took one look around London, and she says, there are too much Blackie Moors. We need, and I'm quoting her, too many Blackie Moors on the streets of London, and they should be instantly removed from our streets. A similar thing is happening here. That was the 17th century. So Theresa May didn't start that. She just ignited it. It was there. The theme was from the Brexit there. We want our country back. Yeah? We want our country. We're going to take our country back. So serve them right. Right? They say, whatever you want. Be careful of what you want because you may get it. And that's exactly what's happening. Yeah? When we came here, when we come 48, Windrush, when Windrush came here, it was Clement Attlee who was the Prime Minister, a Labour Prime Minister as well. And he wasn't too bad either because he didn't criticize. He had to challenge back about. Did you realize that the en route, they redirect the ship to an African country? So there was an hostile environment which was built up before we reached here. In fact, one of them said to, I think it was his secretary, acting secretary, said, Mr. Prime Minister, you don't have to worry because they won't last the first winter. And now, who you see wear more coat than what you like? Tell me something now. Tell me something now. And they said we would have lost. Yeah? Now, but I'm not going to hold it, but let me just get through this a little bit now. Now, when they said we're talking about hostility and hostile environment that we not belong, there was a man called Colston, C-O-L-S-T-O-N. He was the mayor of an MP of Bristol. He was a merchant. He over a period of years, he transported over 100,000 African slaves to the Americas and the Caribbean. Research show that, well, experts say that at least during the journey, he threw over 20,000 black African slaves overboard. And he indulged in this toxic trade. Now guess what? He was known as Liverpool, as Bristol, favorite son. Hear what? Because you know what he used to do? He built houses, he built schools, yes, Kingsley. He builds schools, he builds, in fact, streets in Bristol, it's named after him. And so, they said he put his money to good use. Whose money was it?
Ours.
Who built this country? Let me hear you. Who built this country? So that's our money. And bear in mind that the expectancy of slave life was only 12 years after they were worked to the bone. So when I tell you, are they gonna tell we, so we don't belong? You know, dare I say what you should say to them? We have every right to be here.
More than them.
So, Mr. So, but then I missed a little bit out. This was brought to the attention. The reason why the story came out.
2 minutes, Max.
Black mayor. Thanks for increasing it. Black mayor, Lord Mayor of Bristol, a woman by the name of Claire, in 2018, Claire Lake, when she was appointed a mayor, she in the office, she took one look across the room and saw a statue of Colston, a 316-year statue of him, and she said, you know what? I couldn't be looking at the statue because I know what the man is. So she ordered it removed from her office and got a local painter to paint a lion. That's a black woman who became that. And that's the story of Carlson. But this guy rushed me. But let me just rush it. Let me just rush it. I'm just gonna rush it. With the Brexit situation and whatnot, we're not supposed to worry about. We don't say it's a right-wing, racist, terror situation. But you know, I take pride into what Bob Marley said, and I'm completely
Thank you.
Bob Marley, he just is in one of his tunes called Old Pirate. He says, have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. So we used to roast dumpling, right? And saltfish. We will manage. I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much, Maxie. Right, let's get back to the document now. You've had 2.5 hours to read it, so you should know what's in it. So we're going to ask Ben to take us through and lead us on this final discussion. Come right at the front.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would like to say that. No, I don't want to.
So can you turn yourself around so we can see you?
If I kill somebody, can drop down the other side. My brother there, I want to say something. Please understand what Kingsley has repeatedly tried to tell us the purpose of this meeting. The purpose of this meeting. We have a man called Jeremy Corbyn who has become leader of the Labour Party. And the pressure is on, the obstacle, the forces is to remove this man from office. Called momentum was formed to give defense to that man's leadership. And the momentum has asked us as people with our particular issues. What are your issues as Black people? That's the purpose of this meeting, to hear what your issues are. You can go. You end the meeting and don't do what you come here to do. My brother dear, I take your point about what you said about Jeremy. I'm not surprised, because the condemnation and the mudslinging at this man has been relentless. But let me put Jeremy in a context. When we were freed and to be independent, the lay came down and helped Jamaica organize its first political party. It went to Barbados and organized the Barbadian Labour Party. It went to Trinidad and organized Trinidad right through the Caribbean. The Labour Party was actively organizing us. And you know who they were? Left wingers. Nigerian, the Jeremy Corbyn thought. That's why I support his leadership, because he reflects that era. Yes, I know. So we can't help everybody. I would like to say to you, no, because that is life. You got to 1 year and but I know that my link to the Labour Party is based on history and what it has done for my country and my region. All right. I love young people. I would like this meeting to agree that we recommend to Momentum that the Momentum recommend for policy when the Labour to end the automatic deportation of young people born in this country who do not qualify as citizens, as in the Barack Obama legislation, where he introduced legislation to stop the deportation of such children from America.
Disband the Home Office. Sack everybody there.
Once you put the legislation in force, the Home Office operative after, you see, tell God, God's honest truth. As I said in Deep South America, God's honest truth. If I was an employee in the Home Office and your papers come before me and you have to say you're born here, so you're British, you can say, sorry, you have to go. I would be implementing the law.
Listen, the Jews, as regards to anti-Semitism, right? They don't see themselves as they see themselves as a citizen of the world, not a citizen of the country.
Yes, they do.
No, and according,
they created a country called Israel.
According to the Bible, where jurisdiction is concerned, which is what they are working off, it is right. You're a citizen of this world, not necessarily.
Anyway, I can't tell her. But what I'm just saying, I just read that first.
Quickly,
yes, I'm going to wrap up.
Just through you, Ben. Proper compensation for all the people that have been affected by this greenwash argument.
Yes.
Proper compensation.
Now you're talking policies.
Right.
Yes, now you're talking
not thousands and tens of thousands,
millions,
hundreds of thousands,
billions,
if not millions.
Can somebody tell me what everybody keeps talking about austerity? Right? Can somebody tell me what is austerity?
Hold on.
One second. One meeting. Don't interrupt Ben. Ben's got 2 more minutes, and then we'll call people when they put their hands up.
The first thing then is to end the deportation of people who were resident in the United Kingdom as children, because it's not their fault. They come here legally, but their parents became illegal, and when they turned 16, they inherited their mother's illegal status, and they can't get a job. They can't get an NHS number, so they start sell drugs. And the people who you catch is the first-time drug seller. They don't know how to do it. That is why they're in jail and being deported. So you have to kill this thing off by making it illegal to deport those youngsters. Upon becoming 16, give them, like the Barack Obama law, give them the right to work. That's the legislation. That's why I hear Larry jump up and a ball, and I say, well, that don't do nothing. You need legislation. God damn it, man. So, the next thing is resident as children serve in the armed forces for 4 years. You're right. If you serve in the armed forces for 5 years, go on to read it up to 4. If you're serving I have relatives who serve in the armed forces and get their citizens, I bring over their mother and their relatives. So so Bring it down to there.
Ben, can I make a suggestion? My view is, if you have put your life on the line, even if it's for 6 months, you should automatically, because remember, if you are mentally ill, right, it is not your fault. And we have put a time limit on that.
Are we agreed?
You want glasses?
I have something to run
I have my glasses, but I like to strain my eye because it looks cool. My mother used to do this. And thirdly, don't threaten with automatic. So this is just one piece of recommendation, but it's in different sections. Yes. Threatened with automatic deportation because of evidence of poor legal representation. You know, a lot of our people, they go, I'm not racist, but they go to certain ethnic group with them deport, with them immigration paper. They rip them off, thief them, lie to them, and dash them, and the paperwork is so fouled up that it can't, but home office take it, dash it. So if there's evidence that your legal representation has not been proper, can they receive?
Yeah.
Now the second piece of recommendation is to end the air passenger tax. That's what they call it.
Yeah. The one that we love, Caribbean.
Yeah. What is it again? The air passenger tax, where the plane to the Caribbean is taxed.
Oh, yeah.
The fuel tax that they and it's the highest in the world. Fuel duty. The fuel duty. We want a Labour government to end that fuel duty.
And the
third and final recommendation is that they must put back the rights of people. I've got to need mash up.
Everybody listen to you patiently. Respect. All right, sit down.
The final thing is to put back in law what George Osborne reduced to us, people who are on benefits but have to leave the country for emergency purposes.
Yeah.
It was reduced from 3 months on the job to 1 month. We'd like the Labour Party to put that back, because when you get people shot dead in a Jamaica, they have 2 forensic scientists for the whole island. And it will take a whole long time. I don't know what it is in the other countries and islands. But in Jamaica, they have to go, it takes months before the body is forensically examined. And you have to be there. Those are the issues that we as black people and Caribbean face. We don't hear from the Ghanaians and the Nigerians, our brothers and sisters here. So momentum should be checking what they as black people have to. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. So guys, you've got the drift what we're trying to do now, yeah? So if you have any more recommendations along the lines of Ben has just shown us, put your hand up and take your chance to speak. Yes, sir. Recommend, not that long speech, you know.
No.
All right.
No, I must tell you that I work in City Council.
No, recommendations like Ben did.
What I'm recommending here is what I have gone through, and I'm talking about personal experience. We cannot spend our time complaining about all the things that happen. We have to try and get in among them so that we can make some of the decisions ourselves.
What would you like them What would you like us to take back on immigration, on housing, on... All right, somebody else. The lady at the back. The lady at the back.
Same recommendations to me. It's just the way that they basically attention, ADHD, put onto Rick for us getting money. So we need our people in place to deal with those children excluded And if that they have medical examinations in terms of hearing or eyesight, we get that done for them and back them throughout.
Sharon, sorry.
I was just going to make a suggestion, because you know when these things finish, we never come out of the building straight away to your chat. Wouldn't it be good if we could put a table aside where if everyone's got suggestions as well, that they just write it on a post-it note so we can get some, so we've got enough that are recording, you can put them aside and take them. Yeah. That was all.
Sharon. Yes, Sharon.
I make a recommendation that all future crime czars, anything task force with, youth offence should be, those people should be recruited from the black community.
Can you give us an example?
At the moment, Sadiq Khan's just appointed this new frills czar of crime in London, who's actually one of the people responsible for gentrification in Brixton, friendly.
Right.
So we have to make sure that people future charged with these crime issues have an understanding of the communities and actually are drawn from the communities which they're supposed to serve.
Yeah, the leader of Lambeth Council was appointed to deal with knife crime.
Thank you. Yeah.
But she knows nothing about it.
She's responsible.
Yeah, she's sorting all the trouble in Lambeth, the White Council.
Yes, Mrs. Birmingham, and one recommendation. One recommendation I would like to put, Jeremy Corbyn gets in to end or cancel universal credit,
Yes.
because a lot of people are suffering. If you go to work, there are problems. You all know the problems, right? So that's what I would like, to find another system that would help people.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was good. The lady next to you.
My recommendation is that besides people from the army, there are lots of people who work in the NHS who are disabled and who get thrown in the scrap heap. They're homeless, disabled, and have no voice. So that should be taken into consideration because
we're talking about the armed services. With this Air Force Army Navy.
Yeah, well.
Yes, recommendation, sir.
Going forward about the deportations, because I do remember the deportations to stop. Because I do remember a case many years ago where a child had committed some crime in this country, but they couldn't deport the child because the crime that was committed was done jurisdictionally on this land. So they had to take responsibility of it. They could not deport the child because the problems that we have all been facing has been caused by this country. And they had to take responsibility and jurisdiction of that, so they could not deport the child.
Okay, Paul.
I'm gonna be honest, I was desperate to say this, and you have just given me the opening. I have been following the Shima Begum situation, and I am really worried. Those of you that know, when Brexit came out, I campaigned at doors for us not to go ahead with that. And unfortunately, a lot of my own black people were telling me how wonderful Brexit was going to be because of the Commonwealth, but we'll live and die. But Shamima Begum, the issue I have with Shamima Begum, she's our problem. She was born here, she was raised here, she doesn't know Bangladesh or anything, and the fact that they removed her citizenship and they have said she's now Bangladesh. See how this is going to work. They then, you know, our boys that are involved in guns and gangs, they're born here, they're raised here, and then they want to sort of drop them in the Caribbean or wherever. We need to make sure that we don't support that nonsense because it's going to fall right back on us.
Recommendations only.
The reason for that is because the birth certificate is registered and owned here. That's why.
Thank you.
Yeah, just very quickly, about you talking about artificial intelligence. Some of you must know there's this thing called the gangs matrix. Now that is a very, very frightening tool that the police are now developing, and it's 88% of black boys are on that system. And that's what we've got to try and sort of focus and get rid of that, because that's going to put kids who are from 5 already on that system, potentially they couldn't work. And again, when you're talking about this thing about deporting people, that's where it's all going to go through. So again, I would recommend that we actually have some sort of focus on that change matrix.
Thank you.
One of the interests, criminal justice and employment and education. We send our kids to school.
What's the recommendation?
And basically send our kids to school, we tell them to get degrees, get good jobs and everything else. They come out, no jobs for them. I think because Ghana said 2019 is the year of return to Africa, we ought to look at our pathways so that our children can go back to this actual qualifications that they can actually use there instead of coming here depressed and end up in the clinical systems as well. So that we should be doing, making more with Africans in order to send our kids back there, even during the holidays. So the criminal justice system, when they come out of centres or whatever it may be, criminal institutions, they can go back to Africa instead of being on the police radar all the time.
Yes.
Give them the opportunities there.
Everybody if you give that government, it's going to be a problem.
It will be a problem, so that's what we have to overcome.
Yeah, we have to overcome it.
Okay, we stick into recommendation. Next,
Well, the recommendation is to make the joint with the African.
yeah,
On the Brexit, they're going to
there's someone behind you who's got a hand up.
No, to expand on what he's just said. Right, on the Brexit, the first thing they're going to make deals with the Caribbean and African nations. That's where we fit in. So we need to we really do need to raise the
Trade.
yeah. So where you're coming in with this training thing, right? I really think you need to look at that tool so that there's so many of us here
We've got a lot of wasted children.
who could do with having sitting down for 3 weeks, going
Thank
through
you, we got
a
that, we got that.
thing to release the
Yes, yeah. Recommendation.
Yeah, recommendation in regards to employability. We want the government to give us better community, local-based support. So, for example, we have an organization here that has been in establishment for over 40 years, ACMC Centre. Now, the governments have got their budgets. They need to better support organizations and charities like this so that they can give better support system to the community, because it's here that you come to reach the people. This charity here, ACMC, I'm advocating for them because they need better support from the funding structure. They haven't had no funding for absolute years. So if you could, I don't know, as councillors and that, if you could advocate that, because they shouldn't be struggling like this to survive. It's run on 100% volunteering capacity. Nobody gets paid. So if the government has got millions of pounds, where's the support that's coming in here? So if you could help, please help the ACMA and use Star Radio, because we're the community.
There was someone at the back with their hand up. Yes, yes. Your recommendation, Madam.
Yes, in relation to education, one of the things is to do with funding and the pupil premium. And the pupil premium, schools get it in order to work with disadvantaged. And I'm going to two dollars heavily, but part of that funding needs to be allocated to address some of the issues we're very here with our young black children. They have a substantial amount of funding, but this advantage somehow has been deracialized to a large extent. So we need to bring the regs back into it and use the funding that's available. That's one thing. Second thing, in terms of Ofsted inspections as well, Ofsted inspections still need to go back. They're trying harder now, but they really do need to work much, much more in relation to, again, bringing in the black within their monitoring. They're monitoring in terms of those that are excluded, but we do need in terms of black exclusion. It's almost like black has come out of the agenda for education. So whatever they do, they still need to go back to targeted groups of students, so how the funding is used, if it's there. I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone who hasn't said anything yet that wants to say something before I wrap up the meeting? You said something, Ben. Definitely said something. You can talk to them after. You'll talk to the councillors. You can talk to the councillors after.
Please,
All black shortlist, yes.
I'd like to talk to them in this meeting. What they said in this meeting needs to be addressed.
Yeah, but everybody will want to talk to the council.
No, just a station. I think, Chair, really to take seriously the abuse and insult that our councillors said they have been receiving. And I think we ought to have a way in which they can come to us and seek help from the community to deal with those people who are obnoxious to our leaders.
Yes,
and our officials in the council.
Okay. Thank you very much. Right. Thank you very much. Actually, this is one of the best meetings I've ever attended. I look stressed, but I'm not. Yes, you are. No. This goes to the job of the General Secretary of MBC. But the engagement has been extremely good, very thorough. Put your hands down, sir. This is not the time for that. We need to wrap up. So I want to wrap up by thanking ACMC. You must know that they're under threat. There's funding issues, but they still give us the opportunity to use this venue free. What I must say, which I forgot earlier to say, is that we're going to send a hat round for you to make some donations into it, because we have to pay for food and different things, and whatever left you can donate to the ACMC. I'd like to give particular thanks to Maxine and others who helped us organize, who spoke at the radio stations, who took the leaflets round, who moved to get this meeting so well attended. It doesn't end here. You can actually be members of MBC, Momentum Black Caucus, by going on our website and click join and join your organization and get involved. We have lots of subcommittees, etc. going on where you can give your involvement in. Sorry, put you down, you're distracting me. I'm trying to speak. Right. We have, yeah, you don't have to Momentum Black Caucus, MBC. It's a document you have. No, let me finish. I'll join them. We recommend you join the Labour Party, okay? You can join whatever party you want, but we recommend you join the Labour Party. I think we've made it abundantly clear. We are about the Labour Party and making Jeremy Corbyn and making, can you imagine, a black woman is going to be Home Secretary of this here nation, right? If Labour wins the next election. Yeah, so one second, no, let's divert on that. We want to see Labour in power. So we move on from West Midlands, and our next meeting is in April 27 in Hackney. Then in May we're in Bristol, June we're in Derby, and then July we're back in London, and then September we're at Labour Party Conference. So this is a very extensive speaking tour, and I like the way you guys address the black agenda issues and give us the points to take back Jeremy Corbyn. Thank you very much for coming, and you can talk to the councillors afterwards, and you can make notes about it. Thank you.
Yes, Hello. All right, this is a hand going round. Hold the coins. You drop them in. The